we are at our final session of the 2 days. So HRTX is coming to an end, not just yet. Don't go away. We've got two amazing trainers right here, both in their own right. They're completely opposite and different in terms of, I think, their approach. You've got the, I don't want to be too mean to you, Dean, but whatever that flag is in the back is not as good as this flag up here. And so we're just going to go with that. But you're self-muted, so I can't take, actually, both of you are self-muted. So take yourselves off of mute. Except, Dean, if you want to stay on mute, that's good, so we don't have to hear about Seattle. Yeah, you're still on mute.
There you go. You unmuted me.
There we go. And then
I was on mute, but I needed you to unmute me.
Yeah, I think we crossed over. So, Jonah, what's going on? How you been?
Good, man. How are you?
I am awesome. I've never had a bad day in my life. And Mr. Dean, what is going on? How have you been?
Busy. That's
Busy,
it. Busy.
busy
Jonah
is
and I have
good.
actually been conversing quite a lot over the last few days. Just
Well,
trying to figure out how we want to go about this.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So for everyone that's here, this is our last session of the day. We've had a ton of great sessions over the last 2 days. We're gonna kick off this with a poll. So Zor, if you haven't heard of Zor, kind of a weird name, it's XOR. They're the session sponsor for the final session. They are a text messaging platform, chatbots. They do some AI stuff around hiring and recruiting. So if you want to learn more about text messaging, you want to get access to text messaging, you want to play around with building chatbots and doing all that type of stuff, click yes. We will make sure that you get access to check that out. Also, I think they're bribing everybody with a $10 gift card to complete a quick demo of their chatbot and text platform. So if you are into Starbucks, go ahead and click yes, and you want to check it out. And if you already clicked no, I don't know if you can change it, but we'll send the link out and maybe we can get that changed. So Starbucks generally changes people's minds. So we'll leave that up for a moment. So guys, who am I gonna give screen sharing to first?
We're gonna start with Dean, I think.
Say that again, please.
I think Dean, are you gonna go first?
Yeah, I'll go first, real quick. Well,
Okay.
not real quick, but you know what I mean.
So Dean, you were never quick. I'm giving you screen sharing. So take that, and I'm silently laughing out
did,
loud.
but I don't know which screen is being shared.
We're seeing that your desktop there with the Seahawk thingy.
Okay. So that means you're seeing what's. Well, wait a minute. Then that's my camera. That means the screen share didn't work. So let's try this again. You want to give me the screen share again, please?
We're seeing your screen. We're just, maybe not.
Okay. Okay. So I see which screen you're seeing. You're not seeing the screen I want you to see. I want you to all see that screen.
All right.
Good
Perfect. So guys, I'm gonna take myself off of camera, go on the mute, and let you guys do your thing. I'll break in with any questions, and then how are you guys working this final session? Are you both working one or two positions, right? And then let me know when you want to switch.
Yeah, we've got two, and I think depending on how Jonah wants to, I might just do my thing related to them, and then let him do his thing related to him, and that be it, rather than trying to switch back and forth.
Yeah, that way we're not flipping screen shares back and forth.
Exactly.
Works perfectly. So I'm going to drop off. For everyone that's on, this is going to be a great session to close out with. You're going to get a lot of takeaways here and definitely a lot of handouts. I just saw one of the swipe files and it's pretty impressive. So good luck, guys.
Hey, Ryan, before we jump in and before you go, I just want to say like this session so far, like the whole thing, what you and Tin Cup and everyone's pulled together, like I think like I wasn't able to watch everyone, but day one, like Aaron and Brian did a fantastic job. And today, I think, Jeremy just did a great job. Sarah and Batman all did a great job. So I think when you put this together, you're going to have probably one of the best sourcing training tools I've seen out there for sure.
That would be amazing. And I'm glad you guys are part of it. So that's the goal. So hopefully we can get that to everybody. Here we go. So I'm going to turn myself on mute. Thanks, guys.
Yep. So before I get started, the first thing I want to make sure I let you guys know is I am going to show some tools, or talk about them at least. I am going to do some Boolean stuff. But the key you need to remember here is tools are designed to save you time. They're not going to do something you can't do yourself. I'll give you an example. If I were to use Seek Out to find data scientists, it would find them, and it would find them probably quicker than I will manually, probably find contact information quicker than I can manually. However, I can still do them. And I'm going to start with me doing it before I show you the tools. The other thing is I'm going to show you a bunch of tools. I'm not going to tell you which one to use or not to use. I'm going to tell you to demo them and decide what works best for you. I can introduce you to the right people to demo them. And I don't mean the salespeople, I mean the tech people or somebody higher up, because that's where you get things done. So the first one we're going to talk about is data scientist. In looking at this particular rec, it's basically a data scientist, Baltimore, Maryland. I mean, excuse me, Baltimore, Seattle. The rest of it was kind of like object-oriented programming language, such as in pretty much any object-oriented programming language. Scripting languages, such as same thing, and then relational languages, such as same thing. And then data formats, pretty much a plethora of them. I've done a lot of data scientist sourcing before, and the reality is every data scientist is going to have one of each of those. So I'm not as worried about the skills. I do worry about location a little. So the first thing I want to do is show everybody the easiest and quickest way to tear apart LinkedIn from a search perspective. What you're looking at here is a tool that I created as a offset of a different tool. I took a tool, deleted, repurposed, added, programmed, a whole bunch of stuff. It's not ready for public consumption. When it is, you'll be able to download it from the SSAR page, which I believe Jonah will talk about later. So I'm going to just push this, and it's going to open up something. Now, you'll notice it didn't open up the data scientist thing, and that's okay. And the reason it couldn't do that is because this particular string is really complicated. I'm going to explain every single part of it. What we are doing is basically taking, and keep in mind, spelling is not one of my strong suits. What happens when you speak a lot of languages and you weren't born in America? You don't spell as well, science. I hope that's right. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm tearing apart LinkedIn and basically telling you, let's x-ray into LinkedIn for the word data scientist, because like I said, for the most part, every data scientist is going to have some combination of those skills. Around 10 present. Now the question is, why present? The reason why present is because present is a anchor word in every LinkedIn profile. Every LinkedIn profile has the word present near at their current position. Every one. And so if I say I want a data scientist, the easiest way to make sure they are currently a data scientist is to look for the word present and look for a number of words before or after that word, and that will tell me if they're a data scientist. In this case, the very first person, data scientist. Next person, data scientist. They're all data scientists, all how many ever it says there. Now, of course, what I didn't do was location. Now, there's a few ways to do location. I could add data scientist and the location. The problem with that is that will be the location of the company, not necessarily where they are. They might work they might live in Texas, but company's in Seattle and they work remotely. So that won't really help us to get to where they are currently working. We would need to find out what is the anchor word for that. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to see if it'll let me open it. I do not stay signed into LinkedIn. I don't like Big Brother watching. And we're going to find out where they live. The anchor word is connections or contact info. Either one will work, but I like connections. Where they live is always right near connection. So I'm going to back up out of LinkedIn again to my original thing, and I'm going to add a secondary search where I'm going to put, we're going to start with Seattle. We're just going to do Seattle. And then we're going to do around, yes, all capitals. We are still going to stay with 10. And then we're going to put, whoops, don't need capitals, connections. And we're going to go ahead and close it. So theoretically speaking, this should get me data scientists who live in Seattle. And let's see, data scientist Seattle, so on, and data scientist Seattle, and so on and so forth. There you have it. And this process can work for anything. If you want to look for people who have a particular part of a particular group, I believe it's groups is the actual anchor word. You just would put what data scientists around 10 groups, and you see anybody who's a member of a group who happens to be named data scientist. Skill, there's a skills section. Endorsement section. This is how you can get into anything at LinkedIn and get exactly what you want by using this key, but you got to figure out what that anchor word is going to be. And this process is the same process that works for nearly every other place that you might want to try to X-ray into, and X-raying is the key here. So what I'm going to do is kind of back out of here, and I'm going to do the same thing, but what I'm going to do is show you some other places that you can X-ray and find information. Like I'm going to do Zoom Info. I love going into Zoom Info, and the reason I love going to do Zoom Info is because they provide you so much information. So we're gonna, and there we go. All these people are data scientists, every last one of them. Now you're probably going, well, how does that help me? Well, you got their name, you got their title, you got where they work, live, and then you have their company. At the very least, you can get their work email. At the very least, you can go ahead and scrape this and upload it to any one of the tools I'm going to show you in a few minutes, and they will find you contact information. So something like this is money. Now, granted, I didn't do location specific. In this case, these are actually Boston. I could have very easily gone ahead and come back to my original search and just added in Seattle. And more than likely, I'll get a list of either individuals that are in Seattle that are data scientists or data scientists that are all in Seattle, one or the other. So you can go one by one, or you can go ahead and do this, which now keep in mind when it comes to location, that's the location of the company, not necessarily them, although Microsoft's actually here in Seattle. But you'll notice most of them are, they're all data scientists. A lot of them are here in Seattle, not all, but a lot. And then if you come down here,
Hey,
you get
Dean.
individuals. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. We're getting a little bit of feedback that your screen is a bit fuzzy. We're going to see if you could zoom in a little.
Okay. How's that?
Sorry.
No, that's fine.
A
That's
little bit
125.
more.
How's that?
That does it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I have a handout that I'll actually be sending that has all these strings and everything. So you won't
Cool.
need to worry about it too much. So that's the idea behind X-raying into Zoom Info. I have on this page X-raying into a lot of different places, but what I want to do is show you one in particular, which is Facebook. As soon as I explain to Google, I'm not a robot. Now, the reason why Facebook's important is because, and don't worry about what's on screen, we're going to change it to modify it but we're going to change it to Site Reliability Engineer, which is the second job. Facebook has 3.5 billion people, and that's after they scrubbed it. Now, truth be told, it's probably more like 2.5 to 3 billion when you get rid of junk and people you don't know what they do. LinkedIn says it has 610 million. When you get rid of junk and fake profiles and dead people and all that stuff, it's really about 425, 430 million. But that's okay. I got several friends of mine who've been dead 10 years and they're still on there for whatever reason. So what we're going to do is basically take all this stuff here and get rid of all of it, because we're looking for, in this case, we're going to move over to the site I gotta spell this right, my reliability engineer. And I have no idea. I haven't done this search in LinkedIn, not in LinkedIn, but in Facebook, so I don't even know if there are any. Well, there's at least 4. Now, granted, it doesn't tell you everything you want to know, because you still got to worry about location, and in this case, this one has a lot of security, but it gives you a little bit of an idea what's in there. And let me just say, keep in mind, one of the reasons why we're only getting 4 is because the data scientist word appeared at the end. So let's redo this. Now we got 1420. Now that's a lot nicer. Now you're probably going, okay, that's great, but I don't know if they have the security stuff I'm looking for. This is where you get smart in the equipment you work with, and you say, okay, I need a security one. They have to have PKI, crypto, and all that. Let's find all of the network security companies and put that company name in there. Because guess what? Around present, within 10 words of present, will also be the company they work for. So if you list all the companies, this or this or this, guess what you're going to get? All the people that are site reliability engineers at those companies, which means they probably have the skills you're looking for. So that's how you do that. I'm not going to do that because it would take time to do the research, and I don't want to spend a lot of time doing all that research, because then I'm not showing you guys how to do all this stuff, which is what I really want to do. So a lot of what I do is almost all the things that I do a lot of, it's all sitting right here in this particular thing. And they're all X-ray strings. Like in this case, I'm doing another one for data scientists, and look at what I'm getting here. And this is contact out. Now you have to pay for contact out. I'm not. I don't pay for contact out. And you're probably going, well, how does that help me? But go into their profile and you see their name, you see where they work, you see their title, you got a work email. But the funny part I've always loved about Contact Out is look over here. The first letter of their email is R, the last is an N, and it's Gmail. Well, let's see. R. Oh, look at that. RN. How much you want to bet their email is their last name at gmail.com? By the way, it is for this one. This one I have run before. So you can usually figure it out. But again, you scrape all this, stick it in any one of the tools I'm going to show you in a minute, and they will all find you contact information and more information about these people. So even a tool or site like Contact Out, which is supposed to be, oh my God, you got to pay for it and it's so expensive, blah, 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 is a viable tool if you know how to use it. And I'll do you do one more if I can find the one I really want to show you. We got HackerRank, we got Facebook, Rocket Reach. Rocket Reach is another one that is a paid site, but not really, because number one, they normally get you work emails more than personal, even though you'll see person. But look what I got their name, I got where they work. I can figure out their work email simple enough. I do know they have a Gmail email. I know they have an ING email, and I know they have an Amazon. How hard would it be for me to search? And the odds are pretty good that it's going to be some variation of their name based on the URL. They probably using their their name as some variation for their email and or a plethora of other things. But what's best is look down here. We get a whole lot more people that fit the same exact criteria, and you can scrape it and upload it and enhance it. So pretty much any site, even if it can be X-rayed, you can use it to get viable people from it without necessarily paying for it. Now, the one other one I want to show before I show the tools is for the data scientist one, and that is Kaggle. Kaggle is the land of data scientists, of data, anything for that matter. And so what I'm going to do is just put in Kaggle, and then for now, I'm going to just put in data scientist, spelled it right. That's all I'm going to do for now. Now there's 14,000. Problem is none of these are real people. We need a real person. What I like to do is usually just put in somebody's name just to get an idea. Okay, so what we know if we open up his URL, and we're going to, is, and we look up here is, okay, great. They don't call them users or anything. They're just people. Okay, so we can't use that. So then we come down to this. What can we use to try to get a better feel for this? So the first thing we know this, they have certain pieces of information here, which in this particular case is his own web page. Okay, good. Doesn't help me though. Up here, we see some titles. We see the word at. Is that a good anchor word? Possibly. But we also have the joined, and I'm betting you money that that appears in every single solitary profile. So we can use the word joined. So what we're going to do is come back here and change our string. We're going to put the data scientist in quote, it's already in quotes, but in a bracket. And we're going to go ahead and use the around function again. And we're going to put 20 because some of those things I want to search for seemed a little further away than 10. You can put around works with any number. There are times I use the wildcard because I don't know where it is. Like if I'm looking for a Java developer in LinkedIn, I would put Java and I would put around wildcard because I don't care if they say they're a Java developer or they talk about Java developer in any job description or it's in their skills, just as long as it's there somewhere and they're a developer. That's all I care. Beyond that, it's kind of irrelevant. And I'm going to use the word joined, because remember we said anchor word joined is in every profile. So let's see what we get now. Voila, 4,250 people who say they're a data scientist and who say they're a data scientist. This one says it right there. If I open this up, it probably will say it right there. Boom, boom, boom. 4,200. And as I already showed you, some of them have some really cool information in there once you get in there. Data scientists right there at, well, we know where they work email. We're good. Scrape it. We can keep going. In France, I didn't specify a location, so that's fine. I could just as easily, I believe Seattle is one. Let's see if we can get a Seattle in here. No, that narrows it down to only 2. And since we know that where they are is also around joined in the same area, let's just add it to this search. We still only get 2. There's 2. That's okay. It's 2. We can modify that to say Washington. My guess is they don't all spell out Seattle. And there we go. And look at that. He's got his own website right there. And then, of course, his Twitter and his GitHub, or her, excuse me, my bad. So let's change this from Seattle, because I got a feeling that's impacting our location. Let's see what happens if we just put Washington. And let's get real. If you want them in Seattle, but they live in Bellevue, who cares? It's 20-minute drive. Okay, that got us a couple of more. Not a lot, but a couple of more. Seattle may not be the best thing, or maybe what we want to do instead of doing it this way is try it without putting it in an around thing. So we open it up. So maybe if they've ever worked at Seattle, they might be willing to move back or something. And let's just put Seattle over here. Still only 2. So there's only 2 on Kegel in Seattle. Don't know how many are in Baltimore. I haven't tried Baltimore yet, or Maryland, or any of the surrounding area. But there's none. Haha. But the key here for this particular one is that Kaggle is a great place, and you can use this particular string to find people. Now, I've got about 12 minutes, and then correct, Jonah, about 10 or 12, and then be the other second half of this, correct? Jonah?
Yep.
All right, just want to make sure. I'm going to do one more thing. And what I'm going to do here is show you a site that I think is very important. Microsoft, you want a data scientist in Seattle? This is their site of all the research, developer, data type people, all of them. Look at this. I actually hired that guy years and years and years ago. There's hundreds and thousands of them. Now, I've already scraped the entire site, but there's a way to find just the data scientist on this site, and that's what we're going to do next. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually x-ray the site. Why? What else am I going to do? So we're going to start right here and x-ray this site, and we're just going to copy the entire piece of the URL because that's what we want, and we're going to stick it in here. We're going to get rid of the www and everything before it down to HTTPS. Okay, so once we've done that, the next thing we're going to do is we want data scientists, right? So let's put in scientist. Let's put it in just like that. We don't even need an around function for this one. Boom, 42 data scientists are on that page, are on there. And what's really cool about them is a lot of them, when you open it up and get into it, there's their Google Scholar, there's their LinkedIn. So you know how to get a hold of them. And this person's a senior data scientist, by the way. So even a site such as this can be x-rayed and moved out. Other places you can go, and I'm not going to go through them all, believe it or not, YouTube. If there's somebody on there talking about a data scientist and how to be a data scientist, let me help you out. They're not a truck driver. They're a data scientist. Same thing with not Udemy. Yeah, Udemy, the place where you can go get training. If they're an instructor on a class on how to be a data scientist, they are not a car watcher. They are a data scientist. Like I said, it'd be pretty bad to be giving classes on how to be a data scientist when you don't even know how to spell data scientist. So you've got all those plethora of things. Now tools. You've already heard about HireTool. I'm not going to go into it. Seek Out. Seek Out is a phenomenal tool. It can do so much. It can search. It's got people insights, which is basically your research. It'll tell you how many data scientists are in Seattle, how many are in Baltimore. It'll tell you what companies, what education, everything you want to know. Let me get back to the search. It can search public profiles, GitHub, Expert. Expert is something that only they have. Basically, what they did is they went out there and created a database that has everybody who has a patent, everybody who wrote a white paper, everybody who wrote a book, everybody who spoke at a conference, everybody who has a patent, and put it into one place. Now, normally you'd have to go to like 26 different places to find that stuff. But here it's in one place, and you can get contact information, everything. And of course, they can still search other networks, pretty much anything you can imagine. Meetup, Twitter, Pinterest, everything. You can put them into a folder. You can download them as a list. You can get contact info. You can do everything you want. Really good tool. It has a Chrome extension, which does some really phenomenal things as well. They have an upload feature. You can upload lists of things, and no longer do you have to upload it in a particular format. It's any format, and you just map the fields. You're good to go. Really good tool. Now, if you're looking for technical talent and only technical talent, Human Predictions is phenomenal. And the reason why it's phenomenal is, one, you get to pick where it searches. It can search anywhere, but you could actually pick if you prefer to do it that way. I'm going to quickly just do a .NET person, and I'm not going to worry about location. I'm just doing this because there's some things that this does that is really incredible. So we had this person. You can actually say, don't see anybody from LinkedIn, don't see anybody from Facebook. So you can guarantee you're not seeing people already on LinkedIn, which Lord knows everybody's saying. I'm going to go into this particular one. I haven't gone into it before, so who knows what it's going to say. Here's what I like about the tool the most. You got the skills, events. Events, you get to see what events they go to. You got their bios that are out there. You got GitHub information, Stacklo, Meetup. You know what they're doing on Meetup. If they have a Twitter account, you'd see their activity on Twitter. If they have conference talks they've done, you'd see it. You'd see all this information. right in front of you. Now you're probably going, okay, that's great, but how does all that help you? Well, if you're trying to make a contact with somebody and you know, hey, they just got through going to Comic-Con. Well, I'm a bit of a nerd. I'm a comic book fan, as you can see behind me. I'll talk to them about, hey, I saw you went to Comic-Con. Hey, blah blah blah. That would be my in to get to talk to them and to get them to willing to talk to me. You need an in. I hired a guy when I was at Microsoft that nobody at Microsoft get to talk to him because he was a comic book fan and so was I. So for 3 days we talked about comics, and then he asked me why, and I explained it to him, and 3 weeks later he started. So things like this can help you. They just provide an incredible amount of information. They do have a Chrome extension. They are getting better and better. They are going to have an upload feature to enhance everything. Really love that tool for technical. It's only tech. So if you're looking for salespeople, wrong answer. But if you're looking for tech people, they are really good. Who knows? Who knows is a really good tool as well. And it's a basic tool like all the others. You do your searches, you find what you want, you can add them to folders, you can download them, you can upload them, you can do whatever you want to do. They also have a Chrome extension. Really good tool. And everything. Same thing with Rockstar Finder. Great tool. You can search, you can find people, you can message them right from here. So you don't have to go everywhere else. You get a nice desktop here that tells you everything you're doing. Really great tool. And then Luxo Source. Luxo Source is another sourcing tool, but it has an ATS CRM. It was first an ATS CRM, then they add the sourcing piece, and they have a Luxo Connect piece, which is their messaging, texting, videos, everything. Same thing like Rockstar Finder has, but Rockstar Finder is a sourcing tool that has it, whereas Luxo has the Luxo Source component, the ATS CRM component, and then the messaging component. These are all phenomenal tools that can save you a lot of time. I am not going to tell you who you should get, and I'm not going to tell you which is best. What I am going to tell you is demo them all, ask a boatload of questions. I'm going to be putting a post up on Monday that will help you with what questions to ask. You want to know where they're getting their people, how much it is, where their dev team is, if they're being funded, who's funding them, because that's important to know. Because the last thing you want to do is get involved with a company whose funding is coming from Russia or whose dev team is in Russia. Probably not a good idea. So you want to know these questions, and you want to know cost and what else they do beyond the norm. You want to know that, and then you got to pick which one works best for you, not for Dean, for you. And pretty much, I think for me, we're about there, and it's time for Jonah to dazzle you with his brilliance.
Yep. Before we get to Jonah, Dean, let me ask you a couple questions. One question came in. How do you, well, we'll say WTH is what it said.
What the F?
Do you speak so fast?
I was born in Portugal, but I lived most of my life in New York, and I'm ex-military. In military, you don't have time to take an hour to say, go get something, because in that time, people can die. So we learn to talk.
All right.
And I thought I slowed down.
Do you have any insight on how to find candidates for roles that traditionally don't have online professional profiles? For example, sheet metal aviation mechanics. And then we'll jump to Jonah after that.
Number one, a lot of them do have profiles, FYI. Number two, if they're a sheet metal aviation person, odds are they're part of a union. And that's your in. Not to mention, a lot of them probably have a degree of some kind in aviation maintenance or something, and they're probably ex-military as well. So those are the three ways to go: go military, go degrees, go the unions, and look for all of the aviation maintenance hubs. Guess who's going to be there? Sheet metal people.
Sheet metal people. All right, Dean, thank you so much. Jonah, you are the absolute last person.
Okay.
Out of all 19 trainers over 2 days, we saved the best for last.
Here.
No way. This has been every speaker has been has built on the last one, and there's been so much good information given over the last 2 days. This is rare crowd to be in for sure. Can you get to my screen?
Do I need to stop sharing?
Yeah, let me give you presenter. And as we're doing that, we do have a lot of questions coming in. So let me just answer some of those generic questions for everybody. You should have sharing ability right now, Jonah.
So how do I do that?
On the right-hand side, you should see where it says sharing, and then you can share your specific screen or file, whatever you want to share. And then, okay, so let me answer some of the generic questions that are coming in as we get Jonah up and running here. So yes, everything has been recorded. People come from session to session and come and go. So we'll just go through the whole thing. Every session has been recorded. All of the resources mentioned during the last 2 days are being aggregated. They'll be cleaned up and put into the proper areas. We will have a page and we'll send the password out with a link to everybody who has registered. So you'll get full access to all of the recordings, all of the resources, all of the guides, all of the handouts, everything that we spoke about over the last couple of days. So make sure you check your email. The other thing that I want to mention is all of the offers from the sponsors, whether it's the T-shirt from Seek Out, the option to get the AirPods, whether it's the fully functional, free forever demo or account in Loxo, and all of that stuff. All of that will be included in a follow-up email that will come out maybe tomorrow, probably Monday or Tuesday. Just depends. We're going to try to do everything at once, so we're not sending everything in multiple emails to everybody. The other question we had is, are the trainings available for specific teams? The answer is yes. We do offer custom trainings. We do offer one-to-one trainings. We do offer sourcing practice, best practices and guides and all that type of stuff. We'll include that link. That wasn't something that we generally promote on these events. We just like to do these. And so we will include that, but we do have training programs. We do have custom trainings and things like that. So if you are interested, click the link when you get the email, and then we'll connect and we'll get you in touch with the right people.
One
Dean,
thing
did you
real
have
quick.
something?
Yeah, one thing. I told everybody if they wanted to get a demo of these different tools so they can compare and make decisions, I would make intros to the right people, i.e. the tech people, not the salesy people. I just stuck my email in the chat. Feel free to email me. I will make your intros. If you want all of them, fine. Pick. If you only want certain ones, tell me. I don't care. I will make intros. I have no skin in this knee at all. So there you go.
Perfect. Thank you. And we'll also put that option in the email as well. Jonah, did you need help?
Yeah. Are you guys seeing my screen?
No.
Unless your screen is you, no.
All right. Is there any way that you can do it on your end, Ryan?
Yeah. What do you need me to do? You want me to share my screen?
Share my screen. Yeah. Can you do that?
Share your screen?
Yeah.
No, I can't share yours, but I'll tell you what, Dean, I'm going to share your screen really quick. I'm going to make you presenter. Just take presenter control. And then Jonah, I'm going to give it back to you. And when you see that, you should be able to hit the button to share certain screen or whatever you want to share.
Yep.
Oh, that was interesting.
And we've been doing these. We do about 50 of these a year, so we know we know where to go. Fantastic. I'm gonna jump off. So this is the very last session over a 2 full day, 19 trainers, 12 hours. It's awesome. So Jonah, take it home, and I will jump in at the end with some Q&A.
All right, guys. So first, thank you again for hanging in all the way to the very last session here. So given all the utility information that we've been given and all the great information on how to find candidates, I really wanted to focus on a couple things. One, I wanted to focus on process because I believe that in real life sourcing, so when we all leave this and we're back to our normal jobs and we're doing 20 searches at a time, 30 searches at a time, and we're dealing with different hiring managers and different timelines and different recruiters and different KPIs that are due, that digging in and spending 15 hours on one search is, obviously sometimes you need to do that, but the reality is we're often juggling. So what do we do when a search goes sideways? What do we do when we're sending candidates, we're doing all the things correctly, and just something breaks? I believe that the best recruiters and sourcers are often the ones that are relentless about process. They make sure that their process is correct every time and they do not skip the basics. They're just relentless about the basics, because oftentimes I've found that while the remedy is always more candidates, the problem that we're dealing with is often not a candidate problem. There's something that broke in the process. And if you have a clear process, it's easy to see where that gap is. So example, like, how did your intake session go? Did you even have one? In that intake session, are you doing something quick, like, you know, making notes like this, or are you actually following a process in a template? Are you, you know, are you asking questions like, what are the top 3 things this candidate's going to be judged on in their first year? Because having answers like that from the hiring manager, one, forces the hiring managers to think about their role, which oftentimes they don't think about questions like that. And their answers are going to both provide you with additional keywords and additional ideas to source on, but also things to speak to the candidate about. That's going to help with your messaging. It's going to help with your response rate. So what I did is when we had these 2 searches, I actually started on them about a week and a half ago, and I actually did live sourcing. I recorded everything, and I'll give it to Ryan. In fact, I have it on the swipe files here for anyone who wants to watch all the details. But I actually started reaching out to live candidates. In fact, the reason I keep checking my phone, I was hoping to do a live cold screen on this session if I could have got the guy on the phone. But he's in a different time zone, so it's not working out. But for me, like, I reached out to 140 something candidates for the data science role. We've got 4 candidates so far in play, 3 of which are being introduced after the session's over. And I'm keep in mind, we can't say who we're sourcing. I don't even know who we're sourcing for. So I'm pitching them like as cold as it gets. So I'd imagine if I was able to get more specific with them, it would be even better. So what I did was I dropped in a few of the things that I use day in and day out, and a few of my process tips day in and day out, and I put it on swipe files for free for anyone who wants to use it. So I put my my hiring strategy document here that I follow. I don't do it every time. I break my own rules all the time, because if you're looking for a Java engineer in Austin, Texas, we're good. Like, as soon as you say I need a Java engineer in Austin, I've done that search enough times that unless it's something, you know, really funky, it's going to be fine. So notes on calibration, some tips on sourcing in terms of like what I do when I get stuck. Messaging, this is critical. So for me, I tend to lean against template messaging, and I tend to write my copy fresh for each search. But I believe that the preview that we get on the iPhone or Android mobile, that preview is all that we earn. We have to earn the rest of the conversation. So I try to make my copy very, very tight for that first outreach, because my barrier of entry is simply just to get them on the phone or just to get them to respond, and then I go from there. So I'm not copy and pasting. I'm not putting a full job description. I'm not even doing a full copy template. It's literally, you know, if it can't fit in a tweet, it's too long. So I really make that original outreach tight, and I built my own script that I'm giving away here free. That works in Google Sheets. And the reason I like it is it gives that initial outreach a very text-like look, which is kind of unique, and it catches candidates' eyes. And my response rate is historically very, very high from it. And then also, so when I'm stuck, so I think through a few different things. One, for additional tools, I use Dean's product all the time. I think you have 4 of them now, Dean. Is that right?
Yeah, 4 SSARs, 1 CSE, and 1 search engine.
Yeah. So I don't like to run a lot of Chrome plugins at the same time. It bogs my my Mac down. So I tend to kind of go deep with a handful, and then, but if I feel like I'm just running, you know, not running good results, especially on data extraction, I'll definitely use his tool to find some other sources. Also, I found that when you're looking for a role, especially if you get stuck, if you look at your current organization, their current roles that are similar, a lot of times you'll see their background will surprise you. Their background will seem almost counterintuitive to the search that you're on, which will give you a lot of interesting sort of ideas to look through, maybe alumni, things like that. And then also, just given the nature of what we do, our networks are pretty robust. So if you have maybe previous candidates, previous contacts that you're connected with, especially if they're in a more senior role, and regardless if they're with your company or with another company, if you reach out and ask for help, I mean, I've never reached out and asked for help from someone I'm connected with that they haven't given me advice or tips or ideas. And sometimes as a sourcer, that's all you need. You just need one good idea and away you go. Also, something that's funny, I've noticed that if you're looking for a role, you always see the opposite of what you're looking for. It's just the nature of sourcing. So try it in reverse. So if you're looking for an iOS, try an Android search. Or if you're looking for Android, try an iOS search. It will never fail. You will see the opposite. At least for me, maybe my strings are messed up, but at least for me, I see the opposite. And then of course, I have my own tools that I've built, and then I recorded, if anyone wants to see on my blooper reels of me actually doing both of these sources or these searches. It's funny because the very first one I did, I struck out hard. I had very little results, and I even reached out to them, and it was the wrong location. They ended up working out. It was close enough that it's going to work out, but I had the location wrong, so it was a complete dumpster fire there. But anyway, so diving into the roles, we have two searches. The first one, the SRE search, I'm calling it the Voldemort search because it's a very sensitive search. We can't name the recruiter or the company. So this search is based, it's Austin-based role. They'll relocate. It's an SRE, but the spike on that is the security stuff that Dean was talking about earlier. And the big thing that they were talking about was this OWASP experience. So the first thing I did was I just Googled it, and I found the organization, and I noticed their corporate sponsors for their events. So I started going through all the different events that they were a part of and finding all the companies that were associated with them, because obviously if they're associated with it, they're probably going to utilize this technology. So I started building company lists based on that. And I used this search first, which this string is here, the cryptography search. And then I just looked for just OWASP generically, because they'll relocate. Then I started looking at some specific companies. And at the end result, I ended up with my first pass, like 80 something candidates that I'll pass along after the session. I did not reach out to these because of, again, the sensitivity of the search. I just was nervous about it. But for the data science search, I did, let's see, right here. Yep. This is my third pass when I corrected the location. So it could be in Seattle or in Virginia. I'll pull these after this call and give the correct location to them. But I ended up going outbound to 140. This is the script that I built, and this is the messaging I used, very simple messaging. And then the script I used just 123. So I reached out to 123 and ended up with 4 candidates on my first pass, and they're still pinging me. So I'm gonna have some candidates for a while here. But anyway, that's it. That's the way I went about it. Brian, anyone have any questions? Is Ryan there?
Ryan's MIA.
So for Dean, did you when you looked into the public key stuff, did you find anything specific that was related to the security people?
Well, like I said, when I worked for Microsoft, I was in charge of the security business unit, and so I'm very familiar with it. So I didn't do a whole lot of research because I kind of knew what they were looking for. The PKI and the crypto. DRM is old, so they wouldn't be using for DRM so much, digital rights management. So no, I just kind of looked at it and realized, okay, they're looking for a network security engineer, and in doing the little bit of research, and they mentioned Cisco, and in doing what little research I chose to do, the realization came that almost all the network security people are going to have most of this stuff now. It's not like back in the day where you may have a PKI guy and a DRM guy and a crypto guy. Now everybody's kind of more well-rounded. So for me, I just felt like the best way to attack this was to look for Cisco and their competitors and target companies.
Yeah, on my intake session, that I did intakes with both of them, and there was a candidate that was previously hired in this role that had they were almost at administrator level versus an SRE level,
Oh, wow.
which is the reason I spiked on the security background almost more than the reliability background.
I did do one search where I added CISSP out of curiosity, and it was interesting that most of the people I was looking at had it. And the only reason why I decided to do is I knew what CISSP is. It's a security certification network type, and I knew it would be something that would be interesting to see how many have. And the reason why I did it was that guy I hired, I told the story about. Everybody tried to, and there's like 5 people that could do it. The reason why is at that time there were only 5 CISP certified people, and he was one of the 5 because it was a fairly new certification at the time.
Right. Got it.
So let me see if I can look in here and see if there are any. I mean, I'm looking in the chat, and the last thing I see is what I did, putting out my email. So I don't see anything. If you guys have any questions, type them in the chat. I'll go ahead and get them out there and send them over and tell you guys about them or anything. So never mind. The man, the myth, the MIA that is Ryan is now back.
Sorry about that. I stepped away to grab a drink, and I guess in that time you
Teaches you.
I apologize. I'm an awful host here. So, all right, let me run through some Q&A here. We do have a couple of things that came in. Jonah, can you run through that Google Sheet script that you use, and can you explain it a bit further?
Yeah,
what it's
sure.
used for, and I don't think you need to go into how you actually created it. That's probably a
Well,
whole
actually,
nother.
yeah, it's on the swipe file, and I also did a search for a Medium article that I did not write about a step-by-step guide on
good.
how to create it. It's not what I used to create it, but it's probably better than I could explain it.
Okay.
But basically what it does is it runs off of just normal Google Sheets, and so when you build your list in, you can build your copy here, and it automatically, when you run the search, it'll automatically email through assuming that you have your company runs on Gmail. So if your company has a Google Apps account, it'll work. If it's Microsoft based, it's not going to work. So it only works with Google what do they call it? Suites or whatever, the professional Google emails.
If they go on the SSAR page, there's a lot of tools that can upload a list, and it'll do the emailing for them no matter what email program they have. So
sure.
Although I like yours.
Yeah. So with this, what's fun? So whenever I run this, what's funny is it actually. So I'm not a programmer, so I actually have a bug in here that I can't figure out how to fix, and it accidentally put their first name in the subject. And it wasn't on purpose. It was actually a bug, but my response rate shot up like 30% by just doing that. So I just left it. I just left the bug. So my particular script puts the first name in the subject.
Okay. Can you show I don't know if you can do that here, but can you show how do you paste the script and what you do with it?
Yeah. So okay. So let's pretend I'm gonna.
And then for those questions that are coming in, Tisha and Jenny and some of the others, we are going to get to them. I'm not forgetting about you, but if you have questions, guys, now's the time because we are wrapping up. Drop them in the Q&A box, and I will ask these 2 guys before we get off.
So here's like 25. You simply just paste it in, kill the rest of it so you don't accidentally email people more than one time. And then same thing with the first name, last name. And then so since your last is 26, you would just go into the script, and the way you access the script is tools, script editor. And this is all in the swipe files. And then you would just change it to whatever your number is, and you would click run, which I'm not going to do because those are the SRE candidates, and that's the copy I have in there is for the data science.
And the number that you're changing is a number of rows in the sheet itself.
So yep, so 26. So it starts at row 2 because obviously the first row is the header, and then it goes to 26. And if I were to click send, it would show me an error, but the error actually means it sends.
Right. Okay.
One of these days, I'll hire a software engineer to fix it for me, but right now it's not broke. I mean, if it's not broke, don't fix it, kind of thing.
Oh, that's fine. Can you talk about creating the email for sending emails? So, Tisha, maybe if you can, or Tisha, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Can you maybe explain a little bit further? Unless Jonah, do you understand what she's talking about there?
Like how to create the copy for it.
Yeah, maybe we can get a little more detail on that. Are you talking about the copy or how to get it into the sheet? Maybe you can help us there. How do you track your
So,
response rate from G Suite? I guess Dean or Jonah, if you guys know these answers, go for it.
so historically speaking, I think response rates have been kind of interesting late. I would say in the last couple of years. The COVID obviously has helped response rate pretty significantly. But most of the time, the response rate is a solid. For me, it's in the 20s, like 20% is predictable. I mean, sometimes it's a little higher, and obviously if it's really niche, it might be lower, but most of the time it's in the 20s,
I
mid to
think
high 20s.
the question on response rate, I think it kind of depends on what define response rate. Are we talking about they just replied at all, whether they said no thanks, no thanks, I'm not interested, but here's somebody or whatever, or are we talking about response rate they want to talk? And that because that every time I hear people talking about response rate, it seems like that answer can differ. For me, when I'm getting a response rate, I just want to know they reply because that tells me my messaging is pretty good. Whether they say thanks, no thanks, or not now, but here's somebody I know, or not now, but let's connect on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. As long as they reply, I know my messaging is good. It's when my reply rate goes down, I worry about my messaging. So the question is, what is it? Because my reply rate is actually very high. My reply interest rate, that's a different number. But for me, when I'm looking at my reply, if they say no thank you, but they give me people that might be, or no thank you, but let's connect on social media, those to me are wins because if they're giving me people, I'm probably going to get higher. If they connect me on social media, and I'm now connected to the people they're connected to, which if they're a data scientist, a lot of people they're connected to are going to be data scientists. So I guess it kind of depends on what your parameters are.
Okay. Hey, Dean, I
Yeah.
think here's one. Oh, go ahead, Jonah. Sorry.
Oh, and also different types of roles obviously are like sales roles are always going to be more full contact, right? They're going to be apt to get on the phone. They're going to be apt to respond and talk. Whereas some of your engineering roles may be more the response rate may be higher, but it may be more like text oriented. Like you might get a response much higher response rate shooting a text than you would a phone call.
Dean, we have a question for you, and if I need to share your screen, it might help with this one to show it.
Do I need to hit stop sharing?
No, I could take it. I could take it. Dean,
Okay.
can I make you presenter, Dean?
Sure, knock your socks off.
All right, there we go. So the question is, what do you mean about when using the wildcard with the around?
Oh,
And can you add the company name to that string? So maybe can you put together a string or show how you're creating that string?
yeah, I'm going to put together a string right now. I'm just going to put Java, though, because I'm just going to be simple. So okay, so let's do one thing around the wildcard around it. So let's, you know what? Let's go back to the LinkedIn one. So right now I have the word Amazon developer around 10 present Java. Look at the number of results. If I put the wildcard basically means anything. Anything. It's basically like saying, what's that thing that's on the side that means infinity? The infinity symbol. Basically, that's what you're saying. So now instead of saying within 10, I'm saying, hey, if the words Amazon developer are on the page anywhere, pretty much relevant to present, show up. So we went from 247,000 to 262. So we added 15,000 more people because of that. Now the word Amazon still has to be the word developer, which is probably why it's lower than you would think. If I take out Amazon, it'll be much higher. But I'm saying anywhere. So that means if the word developer is not right there, where it says developer at Amazon, but now they're called software engineer, but they were a developer in the job before it, it'll show up. Why? Amazon's there and developers there somewhere in their profile. It's just a way of being a little more broad. But what I like about it is it doesn't pick up a lot of nebulous things. Now, sometimes you do a search in LinkedIn, you'll pick up the people on the side that they say are related to or connected to. This won't do that. this doesn't pick them up anymore. It's purely within the profile itself.
Okay. And back to, let's see if we can do here. I just lost it here. Okay, back to metrics or response rate using Gmail. Follow up here was, but are you using a tool for the response rate? For example, in LinkedIn, it's the accept and decline button. So how are you actually tracking it, or using it an external tool, or is it something that you're doing internally with Gmail?
I have a plugin that I use from HubSpot that tracks my open rates and stuff like that. That's work that plugs in with my Gmail. So I'm tracking from there.
There are several Chrome extensions that can connect to your Gmail and track your response rates. The HubSpot one is actually one of the better ones.
Okay. Some people here are dropping in some of the third-party tools. Some of them you might be familiar with. So we'll gather them up and we'll drop them in. Some of the third-party tools and Chrome extensions there. And I think we're good on time. So guys, thank you so much for jumping in for the final session. It's been an amazing 2 days. You guys are the closing, and I think super popular. It went over really, really well. So thank you all so much for that. We have a lot of resources here to gather up. And for everyone who's still here on the call, thank you so much for coming on. Yes, you'll get the links. There's a ton of links. Did I miss the AirPods? I missed the shirt. I missed this. You will get that. Ashley, you want to launch the last question up here? We just added this in a little bit ago. I did mention that we do offer trainings that are very similar to this. We're just going to put it up here as a poll. Go ahead and answer it. If you're still there and interested, we'll reach out. It's one of those things. We generally don't share that on these events, but it did come out, and so I want to put it out there and see if you are interested. And if you are, we'll reach out to you and we'll see if we have something that you could take home and help you guys a bit more. So with that, thank you all so very much for coming on. Stay tuned for in the next couple of days, and we will get all these out for you. One last thing, two last things. One is in November, we are going to have a different type of event. We have not announced it yet, so we will take some pre-registrations for that. It's going to be something a bit different than what we normally do, but I think it's going to be a really big event. Some of the names that are going to be on there, some of the people that are going to be on there are going to be pretty good. So we're looking at people like Johnny Campbell, Mark Tortorici. We're looking at Joseph Kladek, I think is how you say his last name, over in Europe as well. So we're expanding out there a bit, and we're going to have a good session here. Shally Sterko, I believe, is going to be on there as well. And then we also have 4 additional people that they'll be training as well. And we just haven't announced their names yet, or we haven't confirmed them, I should say. But we will get those. And then the 12 days of sourcing, which is now live. So you'll get a link in there as well. 12 days of sourcing is just 12 tips, tricks, videos, and behind the scenes content that we will launch in December. It's not public. We do not put it on the website. So you just need to say, yeah, send it to me. You're already registered. All you gotta do is click it, and we'll make sure that gets out sometime around December 12th. It'll go through the 24th, and then we'll do a wrap-up webinar with all the tips and tricks on there so that we can go through them all and help you all there. So with that, Jonah, I don't need to keep you any longer. Dean, I don't need to keep you. And for everybody else, thank you so much for an amazing event. Happy to be able to do this, and we'll see you all next time.
See y'all later.
It was a pleasure.
All right, guys. We'll see you later. Thank you, everybody.